So this is the notes for zero and negative exponents. We're going to be spending 2 days on this, so here are the first day's notes. Um, right here we have a couple of patterns I want you to look at the different tables. There are 3 of them. Let's take a look at this first one. 2 to the first power is 2, right? Because it's just 2 times nothing. 2. Here we have 2 squared, which means 2 times 2, which is 4. And here, 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2, and that is 8. Okay? So, hopefully that's clear to you. This is nothing new, but what I want you to notice is what happens when you move down the table. So, when you go from 8 to 4, right, what are we doing here? What is happening from 8 to 4 when we go from 8 to the third power and 8 to the second power? We are actually going to be dividing by 2. Okay, and here we're going to be dividing by 2, and notice that 2 is the base. Okay, so we're going to be dividing by 2 each time we go down one of the powers. So this is where it gets new. To the 0 power, well, how can we figure that out? We're going to take 2 and divide by the base. We're going to divide by 2. So what is 2 divided by 2, right? And that's going to equal 1. So 2 to the 0 power is 1. And I want you to see that there's going to be a pattern here, okay, for 0 power. But for now, we're just going to move on. Remember that 2 to the 0 power is 1. Why? Because we're dividing by 2. Hopefully you're seeing that pattern. Here, we're going to divide by 2 again. And 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. And that's the same thing as 1 over 2 to the first power. Okay. And here we're going to be dividing by 2 again. So 2 to the negative second power is going to be 1/2 divided by 2, which is 1/4. Or we could say 1 over 2 to the second power. And here, 2 to the negative third power is going to be this 1/2 divided by 2, or 1 to the 4th divided by 2, and that's going to give us 1 over 8. And we could also say that that is 1 over 2 to the third power. Okay. So here we are seeing a pattern. When we move down, right, from this table, we are dividing by 2. So here, let's take a look at 10 to the third power. Okay. And what happened here is we are going to be dividing by the base. Here, this time the base is 10, so we're dividing by 10. Dividing by 10, right? 100 divided by 10 is 10. So 10 divided by 10 is going to give us 10 to the 0 power. And right here, 10 divided by 10 equals 1. So here we see again that 2 to the 0 power is 1, and 10 to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so now hopefully you're seeing that there's a pattern here, right? I'm going to keep moving on. Divide this by 10. 10 to the negative first power is going to be 1 divided by 10. Okay, we could also say that is 1 divided by 10 to the first power. We'll keep moving this along. Divide by 10. So 1 over 10 is going to 10 to the second power is going to equal 1 over 100 equals 1 over 10 to the second power, and divide by 10 again. We get 1 over 1000, which is the same thing as 1 over 10 to the third power. Hopefully you're seeing that there is a relationship between this right here, 10 to the negative third, and right here. You can see similar numbers, okay? Alright, let's go over here. X to the third power, okay? We're going to see that x to the third power, okay, is going to be x to the third. X to the second power is going to be x to the second. And x to the first is x, okay? So, sorry. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide by x. divide by x, okay? And x divided by x, anything divided by itself, okay, is going to give you 1. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide by x again, right? And 1 divided by x is 1/2. Oh, not 1/2, 1 over x to the first power. And then I'm going to divide by x. That actually gives us 1 over x to the second power. And I'm going to do the same process, divide by x, 1 over x to the third power. Okay? So, actually, these are what, no. Hopefully you're noticing that these are becoming fractions, okay? Whenever we get down below this, right here, I'm actually going to make that line thinner for you. Let's make it thin. Oh, the lines aren't perfect. It's okay. When we get below this line, right, when the x's are negative, I want you to notice that when you move down, we're dividing. So when we have a 0 exponent, let's go 0 exponent with pink. What happens right here? Right? So we have x to the 0 here, 10 to the 0 here, and oh, wow, I'm getting all my letters and numbers confused. You know what I'm talking about, okay? So what happens when we have 0 exponents? And hopefully you're able to see, do this in pink, right? That any number raised to the 0 power, okay, is going to equal 1. Because the number divided by the number is going to equal 1 all the time. So here's some examples I'm going to do really quick. 7 to the 0 power, guess what that equals? That equals 7 divided by 7, and I'm going to get 1. M to the 0 power, that's going to be m divided by m, which equals 1. Okay? Here, negative 3 to the 0 power, well, that is a little bit tricky. We have a negative in front, okay? But 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1. So here, we have a negative, so it actually gives us a negative 1, okay? And here's just a silly one. Here is donkey, right? Donkey raised to the 0 power, and anything to the 0 power is going to equal 1, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to look at is what does a negative exponent do? So I wrote this in red, right? I had a red line up here. I'll highlight this. Let's make it big again. Oh, come on. Here you go. All right. So this, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So there it is. So when we have negative exponents, it's going to be a little bit different, right? What does it look like up here? When we get to these negative exponents, right? The 2 becomes 1 over 2, right? And look what happens. This negative 1 came down here. So you get it to actually become a fraction, right? And I want you to notice all of these down here, including these ones right here, are fractions, okay? So, what do negative exponents do? It makes it a fraction. Fraction. And specifically, it basically flips the base. Okay? So remember the base here was 2. It's going to be flipped over to the bottom. So no matter what, it's going to actually flip and make it go to the bottom, or if it's on the bottom, it's going to go up to the top. So here are some examples that we're going to write only positive exponents. So here, if it's 5 to the negative third power, it's going to move down, right? And it's going to be 1 over 5 to the third. And notice now we have just positive exponents. Okay? Here, we have y to the 6, negative 6. What's going to happen is going to come down to the bottom, and we get 1 over y to the 6th power, and now we have a positive exponent. This guy right here, 2x, the whole thing is raised to the negative 2nd power. So this is actually going to flip everything that goes into the parentheses. So this is going to be 1 over 2x to the 2nd power. Okay, and here we use very simple g to the negative first 1 over g to the 1st power. Okay, so that's writing it with only positive exponents. What if we have positive exponents and we want to rewrite it using only negative exponents? Okay, so these we're going to rewrite having negative exponents. They're going to come up to the top, but become a negative, so it's going to become 3 to the negative 2nd power. So it's going to flip. Here we have y to the 7th power, but 1 over y to the 7th power. And this is going to be y to the negative 7th. Okay. So that fraction becomes what it was originally. This originally was x to the negative 5th. And this one, we have 7 on the top, but x to the 3rd on the bottom. So that x to the 3rd gets a little bit tricky, but that's going to come up to the top. And it's going to be 7 x to the negative 3rd. And this last one's a little bit confusing because this actually equals 1 over x to the negative 3rd. That's what it originally looks like. What happened was it came up to the top and changed the sign. Okay. So that's all I'm going to have you do for today. That's going to be for day 1. The next set of notes will be day 2. So all of this right here is day 1. The rest of it will be day 2. Okay. What you have for your homework is this IXL. So if you click on that, it should send you right to it. Okay. Oh, it's not opening straight to it. F6. Come on. There you go. It doesn't take. There you go. So write the expression as a fraction with a positive exponent. So this is going to be 1 over 2 to the 7th. I'm not happy with that. 1 over 2 to the 7th. Let's be a little bit more clear. Okay. So which one does this equal to? Well, if we look at this, right, we have 1 over 4 to the 6th, but we want to bring this to the top, so we're going to say this is 4 to the negative 6. So here we go. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense to you. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me on Neo. There are a couple students that just sent me a message and I helped them out, so don't be afraid to ask. Okay? All right, that's all I have for you today.